In this video, I'll do my absolute best to predict the cycle high for Bitcoin, assuming that the cycle high is not already in. Of course, I've already released a video in about the middle of December going over the timing of when the cycle high is likely to be, at least from the things that I'm looking at. If you're interested in that, it's going to be linked in the description below. And in this video, we'll go over areas of interest for price action. And I want to preface this video the exact same way that I prefaced that video as well. I'm 100% okay with all of this being absolutely massively fucking wrong. And I take absolutely zero accountability for it as well. This is just my best guess based off of the data. And of course, you can use this in whatever way that you want and, find what's compelling for you or not. And that's all good. I do want to state, however, that it is very interesting to me to see several of these numbers that are going to be suggestive of an area of interest for the high for Bitcoin are, well, pretty much about the same number or very, very close to the same number. So first, we'll start it off with probably the most simple and noob-friendly way of looking at this, which is the Pi cycle Bitcoin high indicator, which has accurately gotten all prior cycle highs for Bitcoin in terms of price, in terms of time. And it's been, a little bit off, like the last one, technically price did make a new high in November, about 6 months after the signal was fired. But again, if you sold around this region in this cycle, probably you would have been pretty fucking happy, I would guess. Anyways, you'll notice that all of these prior cycle highs have at least not only have they at least gotten to the white moving average, which is the long moving average here, but they've gotten actually above. They've actually gotten above. And if we were to document the percentage gain from the reclaim of the white moving average to the next major high, you're going to see that these have been pretty fucking impressive here. This first one over here gained about 750% from that move. This one over here gained about 550. This one over here gained about 650, all pretty similar to each other, to be fair. And the most recent cycle gained actually a lot less, closer to 200% or 178, basically 179%. Which I guess possible as well here. But ultimately, when we go to the current iteration of this, we can see one, Bitcoin actually did find a rejection off of that moving average leading into the 2024 correction where Bitcoin spent the majority of the year going sideways. But as of right now, the white moving average is coming in around $145,000. Now, again, this will change. This will naturally crawl ever so slightly upwards, I suppose, as long as Bitcoin is bullish with each and every passing week. But for right now, it's not really crawling that much from closure to closure. But right now, about 145. I could easily see that move up to about 150, maybe even 155 in the coming months. But that would be my first major area of interest based off of a very, very simple tool, but a very consistent tool in the past. And if as you can see from cycle to cycle, these gains from the breakout of that white moving average have been getting smaller over time, especially this most recent one, significantly smaller at almost 200%. Still fucking big, but if we were kind of to draw an extrapolation for this and say, it's going to reduce again by like 50% or something, for like a 90% move above the white moving average. Just curious where that'd put Bitcoin. Just for reference, 50% move puts Bitcoin about 215 about 215. Actually, that number will come up a little bit later. If it were to go for like a 90% move, which would be half of the prior gain, that would actually be a little bit more of an egregious one for me, but closer to about $250,000. Anyways, that would be my first thing right here. And until we get that Pi cycle high signal, I'd still generally be looking at this market as likely to put in another cycle high. Anyways, that's the first one. So moving on to the next one, we have, of course, the monthly HPDR. I just want to go over the significance of this. So first, in January, the monthly HPDR for Bitcoin did reclaim the median, this sort of white line right here that my cursor is currently tracing. And that is typically indicative of like the final legs of explosive bull movements. For example, the last time we saw it reclaim this region was essentially your rally in February of last year, leading to a test at least to the top side of the 38.2 level. Again, this just the top side of this blue range high here. If we go to the cycle before that, we can see the same thing. Reclaims the median, boom, major rally up. Doesn't just test the top side of the blue range. In fact, gets all the way up to the 61.8 region right here, which is the green range. And same thing actually in the cycle prior to that, and actually in the cycle prior to that as well, reclaims the median, and then boom, major move up. So as of right now, Bitcoin has once again reclaimed this. That to me is an indication that Bitcoin is within the final sort of trudge of this market cycle. And, at minimum, we've seen these moves lead to a test of at least a 38.2 level, which as of right now is about 164,000 bucks. Naturally, by the way, with each and every passing month, this range can adjust. But for right now, it's actually been pretty much the same for the past 3 months, three or 4 months now. It's been basically the same price. But that'd be, again, another major area of interest, 165,000 bucks. Very similar to this one over here. Again, especially if you expect like a little bit above at least that white moving average. And like I said, in past cycle highs, we actually have seen that get higher. We've actually seen it get closer to 61.8 level. But even from there, I would highlight the 50% level, which is $204,000, and the 61.8 level is actually 265,000 bucks. So that that kind of does show up, I guess, in multiple places. But I personally do not think that things are getting that high, and I'll explain in one of the later charts. But before that, I do want to go over just a general, very simplistic RSI analysis on the monthly time frame here. You can see that Bitcoin cycle highs have correlated incredibly well to these major highs in extreme regions for the monthly RSI. I marked them all off with these red vertical bars here. You can see that they are, pretty damn good. Not perfect, but pretty damn good. And you also can see that from cycle to cycle, these peaks have been declining. They've been declining, a little bit, I suppose, but I would say it would be a little bit far-fetched for me to believe that the high for this cycle, is in right now. I mean, with it significantly lower than the past peak. Personally, I think that it'll get at least somewhere around the critical zone here, which I have at 85 RSI. So, that would even be a greater reduction than what we've seen from the 2017 to the 2021 cycle right here, which did see a downtick, but not that large. Anyways, if we were to get to the 85 region, we can actually backwards engineer what price would correlate to the 85 read on the RSI for the monthly time frame by using Caretaker's RSI. I've already identified the 85 level right here. I'm identifying it as the bull critical zone, and if Bitcoin were to reach for there from this month, so this is only relevant to this month, with each and every passing month, these numbers will change. Will they change by a lot? Maybe in some cases, but usually they're kind of consistent. But anyways, that number for Bitcoin to get to 85 RSI, the price would have to be $156,500. So we do see that this number, again, is, very similar to the long moving average right here on the pi cycle high. It's within that vicinity. It's very similar to this. I mean, it's basically the same number as a 38.2 level here on the monthly HPDR. So we're seeing multiple of these things now kind of pop up around the same vicinity. I'd say my personal opinion, just based off of this, is somewhere around 150,000 bucks, give or take 10,000. So let's just call it a range between 140 to 160. There has to be a degree of error here. Again, we're doing things like quite far out. Anyways, I'd like to bring you to this next chart right here, going over cycle gains from cycle high to cycle high. And I've gone through each and every cycle in Bitcoin's history. I even included the 2009 data over here, although I don't think that this pertains to or relates to the rest of it, even though it kind of actually does prove the point. But I'm just going to omit it anyways, and just focus on 2011 and onwards. But what I've done here is I've measured the cycle high to high gains. And what we can see is that the cycle high to high gains are diminishing at an increasing rate each and every cycle. So this first cycle here in 2011 to 2013 gained about 37.5%, or sorry, not 37.5%, 37.5x, 37.5 times that prior cycle high. Compare that with the 2013 and 2017 cycle that followed, which gained from the 2013 high to the 2017 high a little bit over 16x. So that's like more than a 2x reduction. Then from 2017 to 2021, it was about a 3.5%, or sorry, not percent, 3.5x from high to high. Again, reducing significantly more. And this is like 25% of the prior gain. And if we extrapolate on that, again, I'm just going to play around with numbers here. Obviously, I don't know how much the reduction for this current cycle is going to be. I would imagine it's at least half, probably more than that, which gives us, some numbers to play around with. Maybe it's like 1.25x to like 1.5x, let's just say. So where would that put price action if we were to measure from the prior cycle high? Well, 1.5x would be about $165,000 actually, very, very close to there. Again, I don't know if it's exactly going to be around that region. If it's like 125x, that's maybe a little bit closer to 150. But these numbers would kind of make sense to me. I doubt it would be 2x the prior cycle high, which is how you can get some of those more crazy moves, I guess. 2x meaning, let me actually just measure this out. Boom. Yeah. I do think that that's a little bit further out, but I guess that would be your 200,000, like your low $200,000 target, which, does show up over here with the 50% level on the monthly HPDR. I just think it's a little bit less likely. That's, again, just a personal opinion. You can draw whatever conclusion that you want, or just throw it all out the door if you also want as well. All good. By the way, if you find this content valuable, you might consider subscribing to get these contents in your inbox if it is relevant to your interests. So that'd be my next point. I don't think that we're going to see anything like super, super crazy this cycle. None of these like 250 or, yes, I did show up once or twice, but none of these like $300,000 plus targets that I think a lot of people have been leaning on. I think that's very, very unlikely. Anyways, moving on from there and into our last chart, we'll go over just a Fibonacci extension analysis from all of the prior cycles. And actually, what I'm going to do is, you can see it here. Okay, cool. We'll start off with the 2011 cycle. What I'm doing is I'm just drawing an extension from the cycle high to the next major cycle low. And we can see here that the next cycle topped out between the 2 and the 2.272 extension. Okay, means very little without context. So let's go to the next one right here. Did the same thing from high to low. Where did the next cycle high find itself around? Well, if you look at this on a closing basis, it was between the 2 and the 2.72 and the 2.272. Okay, very similar to the prior cycle. Let's see, does that relationship hold for the next cycle? Actually, let me get rid of this. We need to do it really quickly here. There we go. Boom. And boom. Let me take this off the closing price here. All right. And you can see that this cycle, okay, there we go. This cycle as well in 2017 topped out where? It topped out between the 2 and the 2.272. Okay, really fucking, or at least I think it's interesting. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's all good. You can draw your own conclusions. No problem there. But if we do the same thing for this current cycle, what sort of prices would we be potentially looking at? Let me do this on a closing basis here. And yeah, if we were to look at somewhere between the 2 and the 2.272, that would be actually your low $200,000 number. So I guess that is possible. I do think that it's going to be less than that personally, but of course I can be massively wrong on this. And if I am, that's a good, I'd much rather be wrong to the upside than to the downside, to be honest. But yeah, I guess that would be one of the more optimistic targets, if you want to call it that. But anyways, we've been on this video now for quite some time, nearly 15 minutes. And like I said, I'm recording this video a little bit earlier than when it's going to be releasing. I also recorded a video, which I'll release probably after this one, for my best attempt to steel man the argument that many people are making right now, at least as of today on the 2nd of February, that the cycle high is already in for Bitcoin and that the cycle is over and it's wrecked for the rest of, I don't know, for the rest of the year or whatever it ends up being. I don't think that that's what's happening, but I always want to challenge myself to kind of come up with the best reasons against my main ideas. And, I'll release that video before this one. But assuming cycles highs aren't in, these would be my areas of interest. Again, between like 140 to 160, let's call it. We saw that come up many, many times with the pi cycle, with the returns, with the HPDR, with all these things. Those and the RSI, these numbers came up a lot. And then I guess if you want to be a little more optimistic, very low $200,000 territory. And yeah, I'd probably leave it there. Anyways, that's where we'll leave off on this video. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.